The other day I was reading in the Dhammapada, and I came to this passage. Fools lacking intelligence go on with a self that's like an enemy, doing evil action, which bears bitter fruit. And what I really focused on was that phrase, a self that's like an enemy. A self that's like an enemy. Fools lacking intelligence go on with a self that's like an enemy, doing evil action, which bears bitter fruit. Immediately, my mind went to a passage in a very different text, that is William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. And just before things really begin to unravel for Julius Caesar, and he actually ends up being assassinated, before things really unravel for Julius Caesar, a soothsayer in the play says to someone that if it will please Caesar to be so good to Caesar as to hear me, I shall beseech him to befriend himself, right? The soothsayer is saying, I really hope that I can get Caesar to listen to me. Because if he listens to me, then maybe he will befriend himself and take my advice to watch out for what's coming, right? What we see in Julius Caesar, the character Julius Caesar, though, is a person who seems to be arrogant, a person who seems to be easily persuaded by, he's persuaded by one person 1 minute, and then 2 minutes later he's persuaded by someone else to do the opposite. The soothsayer says, I hope that Caesar will listen to me as I encourage him to befriend himself and listen to the warning that I'm trying to get across to him. But what we see is that Caesar does not befriend himself. And in that sense, then, lacking intelligence, he goes on with a self that's like an enemy. And the bitter fruit of what follows, civil war for Rome, okay, there you go. Let's flip this around. The wise, possessing intelligence, go on with a self that's like a friend. They do admirable, noble, good things. And these things bear sweet fruit. These things bear good fruit. Right? We can observe this in the world. All we have to do is look around. We can see people who are friends to themselves. We can see people who are enemies to themselves. Of course, most of us are caught in the middle there. There's this internal struggle that's always going on, right? Obviously, it's in our interest to, push things in the direction of treating ourselves like our own good friends, to listen to that wise counsel that's out there, to be aware of that wise counsel that's out there. So that, unlike Caesar, we will befriend ourselves and listen, and have better, more productive, less destructive lives. If we want to get through this life causing as little damage to ourselves and others as possible, then there are good counselors out there, but we need to befriend ourselves and listen to them. Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics has some pretty lengthy discussions on the topic of friendship. And one of the subtopics that comes up in this discussion is the topic of friendship with the self. What are the characteristics of a person who is his or her own good friend, right? Not, as the Dhammapada describes, someone who has a self like an enemy, right? Not someone like Julius Caesar, who does not befriend himself and does not listen to the warning of the soothsayer. What about people who are their own good friends? What are some of the marks of such a person? One mark of such a person, Augustine says, is that this person is completely integrated. And I think what that means is this person is the same person wherever he or she goes. Of course, at a basketball game, at a church service, in a classroom, particular behaviors that are called for are different behaviors. So we understand that. But we're not talking about a person who acts one way in one context, and then changes into a different person when he gets around different people, when she gets around different people. A person who is his or her own friend is a person of integrity, right? This person is consistent. This person is trustworthy, right? This is a characteristic of a person who has spent a long time being a good friend to him or herself. And one of the reasons for that is because this person directs his or her energies to what is good. One of the reasons this person is consistent wherever he or she is because this person has directed his energies, her energies, to what is good. And consequently, this self that I have, this self with which I am a friend, is a self that has benefited from good things. Bringing into the mind good things. Yeah, if a person is treating him or herself like a friend, well then that has implications for what this person brings into the mind, for what this person brings into the soul. If you are your own good friend, Aristotle says, then one of the ways you can know that is you're directing your energies to things that are good, to things that are beneficial, to things that are decent, to things that are honorable, to things that are just, right? One of the consequences of that is that we have what is called in this translation here, entertaining memories. A mark of a person who is his or her own good friend is that this person has good memories. That this person can remember the good that he or she has been involved in. I don't think this means the complete absence of regret. I don't think this means the complete absence of remorse. I don't know anybody, really, can you really be engaged in life and not make any mistakes? Can you really be engaged in life and not accumulate any regrets? I find that very, very unlikely. But of course, if we have a disposition of friendship toward ourselves, if we want what's best for ourselves, then I think this will mean not doing things, not knowingly doing things, certainly not setting out to do things that will down the road cause us remorse, that down the road will cause us regret. So we can look back, we can go back through our mental files and remember the things that we at least attempted to do that were good, that were decent, that were honorable. The noteworthy things that we wanted to do in this world, noteworthy because they were good, because they were decent, because they were honorable. A mark of a person who is striving to be his or her own good friend is a well-furnished mind. And I love this. I love this concept. If we think of the mind as kind of a library, then what's on the shelves? What have I placed on the library shelves of my mind? I'm continually bringing into my mind and into my soul resources. The question is, are they good resources? Every day I'm consuming food, right? If all of that food that I'm consuming is junk, then that's going to have implications for my health. I think the same thing applies to the mind, the same thing applies to the soul. If I'm continually bringing into my mind, if I'm continually bringing into my soul junk, then that has serious implications. Isn't it in my interest to minimize the junk and to maximize the good, decent, worthwhile stuff? This is the mark of a person who has a disposition of friendship with the self. This person has a full consciousness of joys and sorrows. I think this relates to an earlier part of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, where Aristotle talks about the importance of knowing what should cause a person joy, what should cause a person sorrow. What sort of things that happen in the world should cause us grief? What kinds of things are legitimate, grounds for feeling grief? What kinds of things should cause us joy? We know what's basically right. We know what's basically wrong. Yeah, there are judgment calls as we go through life. We have to make decisions, figure things out. Sometimes not everything's black and white. We got to figure things out. But we have a general sense of what's right and what's wrong. And we have the wherewithal, the moral power, the moral will to respond to what we know about what is basically right, what is basically wrong. It is basically wrong to participate in the degradation of other human beings. In what I say, in what I take into my mind, in what I listen to, in what I watch. It is basically wrong to participate in the degradation of other human beings. However pleasant it might be in the moment, it is wrong. Do I have the willpower to act? Will I befriend myself, treat myself as a friend, and not participate in the degradation of other human beings? Not doing so is good for me, and also it's good for others, because that means there's at least one less person who's participating in the degradation of other human beings. The degradation of human beings is something that should cause us sorrow, right? But things that ennoble human beings, things that help human beings, things that make life better for human beings, these are the kinds of things that should cause joy. And so this person who has spent years in a state of friendship with the self, look, I mean, even good friends after years are going to have arguments, right? Yeah, the best of friends are going to have disagreements, right? And of course, within this person that Aristotle's describing, there will be moments of turmoil. There will be moments of conflict, and no one is perfect. But here we're talking about a person who has a disposition of friendship with the self. This person has directed his energies, her energies, to things that are good, and as a result, has a mind full of good and useful resources, right? Those books, those conversations, those movies, those experiences that are useful. The shelves of the mind, the shelves of the soul are full of good and useful resources, right? These are the characteristics of a person. These are some of the characteristics, anyway, of a person who is his or her own good friend. I come back to this passage in the Dhammapada. Fools, lacking intelligence, not lacking knowledge, right? Because, of course, people can know exactly what's best for them and then not do it. This happens all the time. We see it in our own lives. We see it around us. Not lacking knowledge. People know what's good for them. They know what's bad for them. It takes a degree of intelligence, I guess, a degree of wisdom to act on that knowledge. Fools lacking knowledge go on with a self that's like an enemy, doing evil action which bears bitter fruit. Oh, so much better to flip it around. We want our lives to exemplify the opposite. Wise people, possessing intelligence, go on with a self that's like a friend. They do good things, and these good things bear sweet fruit and make their own lives and the lives of others better.